I'm rolling.
How are you, Chrissy? Great to see you.
Hello, Jerry.
And how have you been for the past 6 months?
13 months.
13 months? Never.
July last year, July the 7th.
Wow. Where does time go? 13 months? A dozen times. 24 times. I planned to visit, and then something turned up. I couldn't get away.
Well, you're here now.
Certainly am. And that was a bit of good fortune. Last night in a bar in Sligo, bumped into this chappie with a brand new Morris Cowley, who let slip that he's headed for Ballybeg in the morning. Ballybeg? Something familiar about that name. So, here I am, in the flesh, as a matter of interest. Bit of good luck that, wasn't it?
Yes.
He just let it slip, and here I am. Oh yes, wonderful luck.
Yes.
You're looking wonderful, Chrissy. Really great. Terrific.
My hair's like a wind bush.
You look lovely to me.
Maggie's gonna wash it tonight.
And how's Maggie?
Fine.
And Rose? And Kate?
Grand.
And Agnes?
Everybody's well, thanks.
Tell her I was asking for her. Agnes.
I would ask you in, but the place is...
No, some other time. But thanks all the same. The old schedule's a bit tight today, and the chappie who gave me this lift tells me Father Jack's home.
Just a few weeks ago.
All the way from Africa.
Yes.
Safe and sound.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yes.
Lucky man.
Yes. A commercial traveler called into Kate's school last Easter. He had met you somewhere in Dublin. He had some stupid story about you giving dance lessons there.
He was right.
He was not, Jerry.
Cross the old ticker.
Real lessons?
All last winter.
What sort of dancing?
Strictly ballroom. You should have been the one to give them. You were so much better than I was. Don't you remember? Oh, that was fun while it lasted. I enjoyed that.
And people came to you to be taught?
Don't look so surprised. Everybody wants to dance. I had thousands of pupils. Millions.
Jerry.
53. I lied. 51. And when the good weather came, they all drifted away. Shame, really. Yes, I enjoyed that. But I've just started a completely new career. As a matter of interest. Never been busier. Gramophone salesman. Agent for the whole country, if you don't mind. Minerva Gramophones. The Wise Buys.
Sounds good, Jerry.
Fabulous. All I have to do is get the orders and pass them on to Dublin. A big enterprise, Chrissy. Oh, a very big enterprise.
Excellent. Very.
I'm James Clayton. When I cast my mind back to the summer of 1936, different kinds of memories offer themselves to me. We got our first wireless set that summer. Well, sort of a set, and it obsessed us. And because it arrived as August was about to begin, my Aunt Maggie was the joker of the family. She suggested we give it a name. She wanted to call it Lugh, after the old Celtic god of the harvest, because in the old days, August the 1st was Lunasa, the feast day of the pagan god Lugh, and the days and weeks of harvesting that followed were called the Festival of Lunasa. But Aunt Kate, she was a national school teacher and a very proper woman. She said it would be sinful to christen an inanimate object with any kind of name, not to talk of a pagan god. So we just called it Marconi because that was the name emblazed on the set. And about 3 weeks before we got that wireless, my mother's brother, my Uncle Jack, came home from Africa for the first time ever. For 25 years he had worked in a leper colony there in a remote village called Rayanga in Uganda. The only time he ever left that village was for about 6 months during World War I when he was chaplain to the British Army in East Africa. Then back to that grim hospice where he worked without a break for a further 18 years. And now in his early 50s and in bad health, he had come home to Ballybeg, as it turned out, to die. And when I cast my mind back to that summer of 1936, these two memories of our first wireless and of Father Jack's return are always linked, so that when I recall my first shock at Jack's appearance, shrunken and jaundiced with malaria, at the same time, I remember my first delight Indeed, my awe at the sheer magic of that radio. And when I remember the kitchen throbbing with the beat of Irish dance music beamed all the way to us from Dublin, and my mother and her sisters suddenly catching hands and dancing spontaneous steps, dance and laughing and screaming like excited schoolgirls at the same time, I see that forlorn figure of Father Jack shuffling from room to room, as if he were searching for something, but couldn't remember what. And even though I was only a child of 7 at the time, I know I had a sense of unease, some awareness of a widening breach between what seemed to be and what was, of things changing too quickly before my eyes, of becoming what they ought not to be. That may have been because Uncle Jack hadn't turned out at all like the resplendent figure in my head, or maybe because I had witnessed Marconi's voodoo derange those kind, sensible women and transform them into shrieking strangers. Or maybe it was because those Lunasa days, weeks of 1936, we were visited on 2 occasions by my father, Jerry Evans, and for the first time in my life, I had a chance to observe him. Some of Aunt Kate's forebodings weren't all that inaccurate. Indeed, some of them were fulfilled before the festival of Lunasa was over. She was right about Uncle Jack. He had been sent home by his superiors, not because his mind was confused, but for reasons that became clearer as the summer drew to a close. And she was right about losing her job in the local school. The parish priest didn't take her back when the new term began, although that had more to do with Father Jack than with falling numbers. And she had good reason for being uneasy about Rose, and had she known about Agnes too. But what she couldn't have foreseen was that the home would break up quite so quickly, and that she would wake up one morning in early September, both Rose and Agnes would have left forever. Some of Aunt Kate's forebodings weren't all that inaccurate. Indeed, some of them were fulfilled before the festival of Lunasa was over. She was right about Uncle Jack. He had been sent home by his superiors not because his mind was confused, but for reasons that became clearer as the summer drew to a close. And she was right about losing her job in the local school. The parish priest didn't take her back when the new term began, although that had more to do with Father Jack than with falling numbers. And she had good reason for being uneasy about Rose, and had she known about Agnes too. But what she couldn't have foreseen was that the home would break up quite so quickly, and that when she would wake up one morning in early September, both Rose and Agnes had left forever.
You start off and I'll be with you in a second. Where's the cardigan?
Some of Aunt Kate's forebodings weren't all that inaccurate. Indeed, some of them were fulfilled before the festival of Lunasa was over. She was right about Uncle Jack. He had been sent home by his superiors not because his mind was confused, but for reasons that became clearer as the summer drew to a close. She was right about losing her job. And she had good reason for being uneasy about Rose, and, had she known, about Agnes too. But what she couldn't have foreseen was that the home would break up quite so quickly, and that when she would wake up one morning, or in early September, both Rose and Agnes would have left forever.
Good.